Hello and welcome, my dear friend. Some things in life look random until you see them from heaven's angle. A decision you didn't understand, a delay that broke your heart, a friendship that dissolved when you needed it most. To people on the outside, it might look like wasted time or bad luck. But to God, these were the very lines in the blueprint proving you were chosen on purpose. Think about an architect. Before a single brick is laid, the blueprint already carries every wall, every doorway, every hidden support beam. To the untrained eye, it just looks like scattered lines on paper. But to the architect, every stroke is precise. That's your life. What felt like scribbles of chaos has been the evidence all along that you were never accidental. There is a record written into your story, and now that truth is being revealed. You see, if you were random, you would have fit into random places. But you didn't. Every time you tried to shrink into normality, it rejected you. Every time you thought, maybe this is where I belong, something inside refused to settle. That resistance wasn't failure, it was confirmation. The seal on your soul that said, this one cannot be hidden in the crowd. Look at what you've carried. The weight of being misunderstood, the ache of being set apart, the long nights where you begged God to explain why the road seemed lonelier for you than for others. My dear friend, that loneliness was never rejection. It was evidence. Evidence that you were not made to blend, but to bear something rare. And notice this, the battles against you were never small. From the beginning, you've been targeted harder, pressed deeper, shaken longer. That wasn't coincidence. Heaven counted every step, and so did the opposition. Darkness never wastes its energy on what poses no threat. The intensity of the attack is often the clearest sign of the weight of your calling. But here is where the evidence becomes undeniable. You survived what should have broken you, not once, not twice, again and again. People can argue with opinions, they can doubt your story, but they cannot deny the testimony of survival. The very fact that you're still here, breathing, listening, ready to receive this word, is proof that you were preserved for more than randomness. When you look back at your younger self, even there the signs were written. The sensitivities others mocked, the instinct to dream bigger than your surroundings, the sense that you were different, even when you tried to ignore it. Those weren't flaws. They were fingerprints. God's fingerprints, marking you early so that when the world tried to erase you, the evidence would remain. And yes, you've carried heaviness. Not because you were cursed, but because you were trusted. God trusted you with weight others could not carry. He trusted you to hold on when others would have let go. He trusted you to walk through fire and come out refined instead of destroyed. Every scar is not a stain, it's a seal, a mark that says you carried fire and came out holding light. Let me make this clear. You are not the result of chance encounters. You are not the sum of random circumstances. Even the detours that made no sense were part of the design. Like a master weaver threading colors into a tapestry, God has been weaving meaning into every strand of your life. From the backside of the cloth, it looked messy, but when the fabric is turned around, the design is revealed, and soon that reveal will come. That's why the familiar feels empty now, and old conversations no longer satisfy. It's not burnout, it's not discontent, it's the stirring of evidence inside you. Heaven is pressing on the design and saying, it's time for this one to rise. Paths you never mapped will begin converging at your feet, as if someone sketched them long ago. And evidence doesn't argue, it doesn't beg to be believed, it simply stands, and its reality cannot be denied. Just like a tree doesn't need to convince anyone of its roots once fruit begins to grow. That's how your life is about to move. Quiet, steady, undeniable. That long stretch was a load test on your beams. Now, the structure of you can carry what would have crushed you last year. My dear friend, the blueprint is unfolding. And soon, not only will you see why nothing in your story was by accident, you will become the very evidence that God chooses with precision, not randomness. Night has a way of telling the truth, not in thunder, but in the way a hallway light spills under a door, in the soft tick of a clock that suddenly feels like a heartbeat. You stand there with your keys warm in your hand, and something in you steadies. That steadiness is your evidence arriving. It doesn't come as a speech. It comes as a shift you can feel with your hands. Your grip loosens on things you were never meant to drag. Your breath lands lower in your chest. The name that used to sting doesn't. A laugh you haven't heard from yourself in years escapes without asking permission. The air hasn't changed. You have. Imagine a sheet of paper dusted with iron filings and an unseen magnet moving beneath it. At first, the filings look scattered and pointless. Then, one by one, they slide into lines, curves, a shape you didn't realize was already drawn. That's your days now. The pull was always under the page. The pattern is simply revealing itself. You begin to notice how your spirit recognizes home before your mind can explain it. A room you've never stood in carries the tone of a place you've always belonged to. A sentence from a stranger lands like a reminder, not an introduction. The ground under you feels decided, as if someone signed for you long before you arrived. There is kindness in how this evidence arrives. It doesn't drag you by the collar or shame the years you spent circling. It honors them. The detours become scaffolding you can finally see in daylight. The ache becomes depth in your voice. The break that almost ended you becomes the seam that holds you together better than before. You touch the scar and feel strength, not loss. You'll notice your pace change, not faster, truer. Your days stop arguing with themselves. The hour you give to what matches your core starts paying you back, first in peace that doesn't leak, then in outcomes that don't wobble. You're not pushing a boulder uphill anymore. You're catching a current that was carved with your name. Grief visits, but it doesn't rule. Nostalgia flickers, but it doesn't chain you to old rooms. You can bless what grew you and still walk away when it tries to keep you small. You can love people and leave patterns. You can forgive without returning to the versions of yourself that had to beg for air. And tenderness returns, quietly, like an instrument you set down years ago and suddenly pick up without thinking. A line of melody in the kitchen sinks white noise, a picture in your mind that carries the exact color of a childhood morning, not a rewind, a reunion. If fear knocks, you don't bargain with it. You notice it the way a pilot notices a crosswind. Acknowledge, correct, keep your heading. There's a new honesty in you, one that doesn't need volume. Rooms feel it, so do people. You don't have to convince anyone anymore. Presence does the explaining. Prayer sounds different too. Fewer words, more weight. It feels like placing a hand on a shoulder you trust, and hearing without sound, "I've got you. Keep walking." You don't rush out of that moment. You let it set, the way varnish needs time to cure so the grain shows clean. The old story about being behind doesn't survive here. You can see it clearly now. You weren't late. You were being fitted, measure by measure, bone and breath, so the life you're stepping into won't hang off you like borrowed clothes. There is a rightness in the way this falls on your shoulders. And then comes the recognition, not from a crowd, from creation itself. The morning meets you differently. Work that used to fight you starts opening like a well-oiled hinge. You say a simple sentence and watch it land in exactly the heart it was aimed for. There's a click inside, the sound of a key finally turning in the lock it was cut for. This is what chosen on purpose feels like in the body. Warmth where cold used to live, space where tightness used to camp, a clear line through the noise where you used to hear only static. No fireworks, just alignment so accurate it makes chaos look silly for ever pretending to be in charge. If resistance rises around you, as it always does when truth takes a visible shape, let it pass like weather. Storms can soak a road, but they can't move a mountain. And you, after everything, are built like one. Not hard, rooted. Look at yourself with softer eyes now. See the blueprint lines you once called scribbles. See the fingerprints you tried to scrub away. See the tapestry turned facing out. The design finally visible. The colors making sense together. There you are, the living exhibit of a careful choice. And when the moment comes, and it will, where you step over the line between almost and fully, you'll know. The room will feel like it's been waiting to exhale. The work will feel like it's been wanting your hands. Even your name will sound right in your own mouth again. My dear friend, the evidence isn't a certificate someone hands you. The evidence is you, moving with a quiet accuracy that can't be faked. You don't have to force it, frame it, or prove it. Just stand where you were always meant to stand, and watch how the world rearranges around the truth. The magnet has always been under the page. The filings are only now catching up. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. If this message resonated, please like, share it with someone who might benefit, and subscribe to stay connected. Continue your awakening journey by choosing one of the videos on your screen that resonates with you the most. See you there.